Smithills Estate is the largest estate in England for the Woodland Trust, and it's just outside Bolton. It's on the urban fringes. It's an estate where we are funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, and we're doing all sorts of work to lead to real landscape scale change.
And here we are on the Smithills Estate, where we're doing some NFM, natural flood management interventions in partnership with the Woodlands Trust, who own the estate, with Mersey Forest, who are doing some of the implementation, and with Liverpool University, who are analysing the data. And so the idea, what you see behind me, is a debris dam, a woody debris dam, which is effectively hard timbers, so physically trapping and slowing the flow of water, with live willow mixed into it, so that effectively in the future, when the other wood rots away, there'll be the live willow thicket across here. And these interventions at various points along the estate are designed to trap and slow the flow of water. So here we are in the rural headwaters upstream. You might be able to see Manchester in the background behind me, but it's a little bit cloudy.
And basically what I'm stood behind is an engineered log jam, and is one of 13 on the estate. And there's about another 15 or so measures to go to be delivered, including deculverting projects, so lifting streams out of pipes and letting them wander across the floodplain, through to clay core detention basin measures. And in this 6 kilometre squared estate, where there's not only been tree planting being trialled, so 140,000 trees planted by the Woodland Trust and volunteers, but we're also trying these slow the flow techniques, because at the outlet of that 6 kilometre square catchment, where the main river is downstream, there's a community at flood risk. So in a 1 in 100 year event, about 56 properties are at risk. And hypothetically, about 6 Olympic swimming pools of water flood those houses as the peak passes through. So we're looking to hold those 6 Olympic swimming pools up in the measures I've just mentioned there. And we're actually monitoring those in a lot of detail before we intervene and after we intervene. And Liverpool University, so in particular Neil MacDonald and Hazel Phillips, are finding some really interesting data. So they're finding that for a comparable pre and post rainfall event, in terms of totals and duration, peak water level following the installation of 5 living engineered log jams like these ones reduced peak water level by 20%, but also base flow, so the flows in between rainfall events, the everyday sort of flow, is increased too, suggesting that actually we're giving some amount of drought resilience and fire resilience by virtue of these measures. But it's not all about water quantity, it's also about quality. So evidence suggests that these measures reduce the pollutants, so they capture and hold them in the landscape, they capture the topsoil lost off the land through a change in climate. And what we're also finding through the volunteer network here is we're finding species turning up which haven't been spotted before. So in a pool just upstream here, behind a log jam, there's a keeled skimmer being spotted. That's a dragonfly, which has never been spotted before in Greater Manchester. It's only one sighting, which is really important to emphasise, but hopefully we'll make future sightings of these sorts of wildlife. We're here at Two Lads today, the headwaters of Smithills Dean River, with Smithills, the community at flood risk, being about 8 kilometres or so downstream. And what you can see around me here is living engineered log jams. So this site is densely monitored, and Ribble Rivers Trust helped set that up. So they've installed water level stations, a rain gauge to monitor the site before we did all this, and after it. And there's some really encouraging data for reducing the peak flows and delaying them. We're taking out the high flashy flows which might be associated with flood risk at the reach scale, so over 100 metres in length about. But we're also increasing the normal sort of everyday flow, if you like, and that's good for water resilience, but also for species resilience. So migratory fish which come out the ocean, such as salmon or sea trout, they lay their eggs in the gravels of the riverbed downstream. This is Slack Hall. This is where we've done a deculverting project. So basically, before the stream flowed through a pipe for 150 linear meters, and we got some diggers in and decided to dig the stream up out the pipe and make it wander through its former floodplain. We've actually graded back the banks of the watercourse too. So with that, now in times of high flow and flooding, the water, rather than going down the pipe like a fire hose, is made to wander further. It has further to travel now before it gets downstream. And moreover, it's daylighted, so the water is now available to wildlife, both insects in the bed of the river, which is valuable for fish and other species. This is just one of 25 other measures around this 6 kilometre square catchment. All these measures in aggregate help slow the flow, coupled with the 140,000 trees the Woodland Trust are planting with Heritage Lottery funding, and also the Moors for the Future partnership work, which is occurring upon the peatland. That's important because back in 2018, 7 miles squared of this surrounding this site were ablaze with a Winter Hill moorland fire, which is really saddening. Natural flood management plays an important part in the climate change emergency and creating resilience, and these types of nature-based solutions can sit alongside traditional forms of engineering to offer greater risk alleviation, both flood and drought, in what is an uncertain future.
And we're hoping that if we can upscale this and do this on a large enough scale, we can make a difference to the communities at risk downstream and basically make an environment that's resilient to our climate change risks that are approaching us in the years ahead, and creating habitat as well. So an all-round bonus to the environment and to people too.